Welcome back to Harris Football. This is Jay Moyer. We're going to continue our series on NFL draft prospects with another running back. That's Cam Akers from Florida State. 20 years old, will turn 21 in June. 5'10", 217 pounds at the combine, ran an explosive 4.47 40-yard dash, was a highly touted recruit after playing quarterback in high school, was the number 2 recruit in the nation as a running back, the top running back in the class by 24/7 Sports. In 2019, on a dysfunctional Florida State offense, he put up 1,144 yards on the ground, adding 30 receptions and 225 receiving yards with 18 total touchdowns. He also threw 6 passes, completing 4 of those for 50 yards. What I love about Cam is that he is an explosive athlete, really an explosive runner, excellent burst, gets to top speed very quickly, and plays very physically. He's not scared to lower his shoulder and run somebody over. Now, this particular quality can also be a negative at times, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But this aggressiveness also carries over to his pass protection, where he'll stick his chin in there and lay out a linebacker. And finally, he catches the ball really well and is a weapon once he gets out in the open field. So really a player that with development could thrive in all 3 phases of the position for running backs in the NFL. But I do have some concerns about Akers' game. His weaknesses mostly come down to refinement of his craft. Now, the Florida State offense was generally in shambles. We're talking missed blocking assignments, erratic quarterback play, and a scheme that left a little bit to be desired. But the issues on Florida State's offense were not limited to Akers' supporting cast. Many areas of his game will need improvement for his talent to carry over to the NFL. Specifically, while he has quick feet, he often takes undisciplined footwork paths, crosses his feet over in the backfield, and this can lead to problems. Also, as we talked about with finishing runs, he finishes runs very crudely. He does not attack tackling angles, use micro movement to reduce the amount of contact and pick up extra yards. His main plan of attack is to really lower his shoulder and also sometimes lower his head, inviting a huge collision that over time has a good chance to result in injuries in the NFL. Finally, while his vision is okay in the sense of being able to identify the correct primary hole, he lacks scheme discipline and often makes decisions too early and misses opportunities on second and third developments that occur in the down.
Okay, gang, it's Harris. A quick break to say thanks to Felix Grey for sponsoring this film review. I spend a lot of time on screens. We all do. You've heard me say this on the podcast. I was getting headaches at the end of a long day. 60% of Americans suffer from digital eye strain. I can personally tell you Felix Grey glasses can help. Every pair of Felix Greys filters out blue light. They're like sunscreen for your retinas. You can get them in prescription or not. They have a ton of frame styles to choose from, and shipping and returns are always free. If your eyes are bugging you, I can personally recommend them. Seriously, go to felixgrayglasses.com/HarrisTube. And really, we thank them for sponsoring.
So let's get into some plays that show both the good and the bad of Cam Akers. The first one we're going to get to is an explosive 38-yard touchdown run. And you'll see a great example of his burst, his physicality, his explosiveness. But I'll also take a look at some of the footwork issues that make this play in particular a bit more difficult than it needs to be. So we're going to have an inside zone to the left with a backside H-back fold block and insert. Akers' job is to read through the left guard center combo as they work their way upfield and ideally into the middle linebacker number 7. Akers is tasked with reading this action across 3 gaps, starting with the front side, left side A gap, working to the right side A gap, and finally the right side B gap. His job is to use footwork and eyes to beat number 7 and manipulate number 7 to get caught up in the traffic in that combo block. As the ball is snapped, the left guard center combo is interrupted by a blitz, forcing the left guard to abandon the combo and pick up the blitzer. This allows a play side defensive tackle to easily control Akers' first gap, the play side A gap. As he works his eyes to the next gap, the backside right side A gap, Akers sees the one technique defensive tackle with his helmet in the hole. In addition, the middle linebacker number 7 is stepping down towards this gap, so you have 2 defenders leveraged to that same backside A gap. Working through his read to the next gap over, Akers identifies the B gap just to the right of the right guard, with the large gap and the inserting H-back number 6 working towards the safety who's in the box. With the linebacker, number 7, out of position and stepping towards the A gap, Akers should be able to manipulate this situation, explode through the B gap, and run untouched for a first down and possibly a touchdown. Key to this is selling his approach to the A gap and forcing that linebacker to commit, and then cutting back to the open B gap only at the last second. This is called pressing the hole, and you're really trying to sell the attack to manipulate that linebacker. Instead, Akers cuts back right away, allowing the linebacker to cover 2 gaps, from the initial A gap now to the backside B gap. The linebacker meets Akers in the hole, but luckily, Akers is such a physical and explosive runner, and he's able to create a weak arm tackle and explode through that and get into the open field. If he were to use his footwork and manipulate that blocking, again, he could have gotten in the open field without contact. But Akers then showed explosive speed to outrun both cornerbacks' angles and finish the touchdown. Now, Akers' explosive talent is potentially special, but in order to succeed at the NFL, he's going to need to refine his craft to capitalize on mistakes by defenders and just make his job easier. Next, we'll run through a play where Akers again is early through his reads, shows some impatience, and results in missing out on an opportunity. Wide zone to the left. Akers is going to take his footwork, aiming towards a tackle, reading the end man on the line of scrimmage, defensive end number 3. As he reads his player, his eye should work through to the second level to feel the linebacker's movement. At the snap, the down defensive inside crashes in, and the left guard gets outside leverage, though is pushed back a little bit. The outside linebacker rushes upfield and outside, trying to force containment on the outside. This sets up a seam in that playside B gap between the left tackle and the left guard. But Akers gets impatient with his read, sees a little bit of push from that defensive end on the left guard, reacts to that flash, and cuts back very early, despite the guard's leverage to the outside. With the other linebackers and defensive linemen playing cutback leverage, Akers finds himself surrounded by multiple tacklers and is tackled for a short gain. If Akers had trusted his reads and stuck with his initial play side attack, he would have found a nice B-gap bubble on that left side and possibly had an explosive run when you factor in his physical talent. In the NFL, he needs to improve his patience and discipline through reads so he does not miss these types of opportunities. Next, we'll tackle another exciting play that's a mixed bag for Akers again. In this case, he's running a trap with the left guard pulling to block the right side defensive end. The goal is to create a lane in that right side B gap inside the puller and the defensive end. At the snap, the play is muddled. The pulling left guard hesitates with a bit of confusion before running outside. The confusion in blocking assignments forces Akers to create. Seeing the hole close down in front of him, he performs an explosive jump cut to the right, but you'll see as he performs his jump cut, he crosses his left leg behind his right leg. This does not hurt him on this play, but in general, having your hind leg cross behind your front leg is a position that puts you very susceptible as you're off balance and can't generate any power if faced with contact. In this case, Akers has enough time to regain his balance and evade the linebacker, again using his nice burst to get around the edge. As he gets the seam, he gets upfield very quickly, picking up 10 yards before an explosive collision with the defensive back. Now, the theme with these 3 plays, and Akers in general, is explosive athleticism and suboptimal execution. Now, when Akers finds himself in the NFL, the athleticism gap will not be so large, and his game will really hinge on whether he can improve his execution in a better offense at the NFL level. Even if Akers is able to improve his scheme discipline and his footwork, I do have big concerns about his ability to avoid injury and pick up those extra yards when his main source of dealing with collisions at this point is really lowering the shoulder and running players over. Here are a couple more examples where Akers absorbs unnecessary contact. First, as a Wildcat quarterback running a zone play to the left, a nice seam opens up, but the safety meets him in the hole. The goal here should be breaking this tackle and getting into the open field. To do that, Akers should be splitting the safety in half, creating a favorable contact angle, ideally with a low pad level and a shoulder turned down and away from the tackler. Paired with the strong leg drive, this increases his chance of breaking the tackle and also reduces the amount of punishment he takes as compared to lowering the shoulder and just running straight through the defensive back's chest. Next, we have a wide zone play to the right where Akers gets around the edge, has a nice run, but at the flash of a linebacker, dives headlong outside without realizing another linebacker and a safety are heading in. This creates A very scary collision as he lowers his head into contact from multiple lunging defenders. Akers' explosion results in him actually winning the collision, but again, this is punishment that he's not going to be able to take on a regular basis for a sustained career. Overall, Akers is a very explosive running back prospect as he works his way into the NFL. In order for his talent to really thrive, he's going to need to improve his execution and ideally work on things like micro movement and using favorable tackling angles to reduce the amount of contact he takes. If he can refine his game, he has sky-high potential and potentially could end up being the top running back in this class. But he has a long way to go before he reaches all of that potential.
Thanks so much for watching. Please, please, please smash that like button, write a comment, tell us who else you'd like to see us review film on, and of course, best of all, please subscribe to our channel and then click that little bell above the subscribe button and you'll be notified whenever we post a new video.